Hey guys, if you've been looking at buying a house here in the near future and keeping a look at housing costs, then you probably have noticed how expensive it is to buy a house right now. With interest rates being so low and money being so cheap, people are offering $50,000, $100,000 over asking price and not even thinking twice about it. The reason why this is a problem is because ordinary people like you and me are not going to be able to drop that money on buying a house. It's just not possible. And if you think about it logically, in the next 4 or 5 years, if that person's wanting to move, most likely they're probably going to be under in their house. That's going to cause a serious problem, and they're going to think back in the past when they did make this decision during these times and really regret it. So don't think that you're alone in this. Don't think that you're the only one that's not capitalizing on buying a house right now. It's okay. There's a lot of things that you could really be putting your money in right now that have a better return on investment than buying a single family house right now. The market is inflated, let's face it, but I'm gonna give you the top 10 cities to buy a house in 2021 that are still relatively cheap. Now, obviously, this list is going to be somewhat subjective. I did put a lot of research into a list that I found online. The list that I did use as a template in forming my top 10 was from everyhting.com on their most affordable cities to buy a house in 2021. They did list 10 cities and they ranked them 10 to 1, like what I'm doing right now. However, upon researching housing costs on Zillow, I did quite a bit of rearranging to this list to fit what I think is going to be the real top 10. Now, let's just be realistic here. If you're expecting any sort of city from California to be on this list, then you're dreaming. Even places like where I live in Palm Springs, where it consistently reaches above 110, housing costs are still very expensive and would not really fit most people's budgets. So most of these, if not all of these cities, are going to be in the Midwest area. However, that's where the cheapest place is to move to right now. If you're up for dealing with some cold weather and maybe some humidity, it might be a good place to move. So here it is, the first part of my top 10 list. This is going to be ranking from 10 to 6. In the next video, because this will probably be really long if I made it into one, it'll be going from 5 to 1 on the best places to move to in 2021, 1 being the best, 10 being the worst. However, being 10th on the list is still pretty dang good because a lot of places are a lot more expensive than that. Coming in at number 10, we have Lawton, Oklahoma. Lawton is a city 87 miles southwest of Oklahoma City. It is the 5th largest city in the state, actually. Lawton's economy is still largely based and dependent on Fort Sill. The city has many parks, lakes, museums, and festivals. The weather around that area actually maxes out on a high of an average of 72, usually in the month of July, and it maxes out at a low of an average about 27 in the month of January. When we are talking about max high and max low temperatures, these are averages of that month and what it reached to on average. I got this information from the United States climate data. I'll probably link all of the sources that I used in the description. So most of that information I did get on Wikipedia. However, I did want to go a little bit deeper into the subject, and so I checked out neighborhoodscout.com. And this provides a lot more deeper info, and we get into more statistics. As far as main employers go in that city of Lawton, Oklahoma, healthcare and retail are the main employers. It is a military town, and military does make up about 14% of the population. However, 13% of the population works at home in that area. Good news is about 21% of the citizens have at least a bachelor's degree. The per capita income is about $24,400. The next stat is violent crime data, and I did pull this off of Neighborhood Scout as well. Basically, it is a number out of 1,000. And that's your chances in 1,000 that you become a victim of violent crime. So as far as violent crime rates goes, out of 1,000, the city of Lawton is a 9.3 and the state of Oklahoma is a 4.3. So quite a bit higher than the state average. However, if we look at places like Chicago or LA, it's much higher there than the state. Reading and math scores are about 10% lower than the average of the state. And then as far as housing prices go, this is what we came here for, and I got this info off of Zillow.com. This is kind of a monthly average that I researched on Zillow. This is just what has been listed in the month of June, and this very well may change within the next week or two about what is listed for what price. What I found, a decent house in Lawton costs about $185, and a turnkey property, which I define as something that you walk into and you don't immediately see something wrong that you want to update or fix up. A turnkey property in this area, there is a new development right outside of the city of Lawton. Most of the turnkey properties that I'm describing are just right outside the city, and this is a new development that was recently posted at about $350,000 for a turnkey. Next up on our list, number 9, Kokomo, Indiana. Kokomo, Indiana is Indiana's 15th largest city. It ranks number 5,229 best places to buy a house in America on niche.com. Overall, the city received a letter B grade from niche.com. As far as temperatures go, it maxes out on an average of an 84, and it can reach a low of 16 degrees around January time. When we're looking at neighborhood scout stats, 28% of workers are in manufacturing. Violent crime out of 1,000 for the city of Kokomo is 6.84, and the state is about 3.71. A cool stat that I found was that about 62% of the people that live in Kokomo are homeowners. Partially, that's going to be due to the cheap housing in this city. However, a bunch of new developments are coming up, and those turnkeys are about sub $300,000. A nice home in that area that maybe needs a little love is about $160,000. The next one on our list, number 8, and still keeping it in the same state of Indiana, we have Muncie. Muncie, Indiana is 50 miles northeast of Indianapolis. Its population is about 68,000 people. It's home of the Ball State University, and it reaches a max high average of 85 and a max low average of about 16 degrees. As far as neighborhood scout stats go, about 23.6% of the adults have at least a bachelor's degree in this city. It's considered to be a college town due to how many students there are living in that region. A per capita income, it's going to come out to about $20,400, which is relatively low. 31% of the population lives below the poverty line, and that is probably due to the lower per capita income. Education and healthcare are the main employers in that city. As far as violent crime goes, out of 1,000 people, the city comes out to 3.3 and the state comes out to 3.7. So keeping it pretty consistent with the average there. When we're talking about reading and math proficiency, the city of Muncie does keep it also at the state average, which is pretty good. A decent house in Muncie is going to run you about $120,000 to $150,000. And when we're talking about turnkeys, there was not very many good ones. Even for $350,000, which is what I wrote down for a turnkey, you're still not getting the best property. It still doesn't look the greatest. It's probably still going to need work and wouldn't really fit the definition that I used on the rest of these cities. Shoot, I don't know how to say this.
Terre Haute.
Terre Haute. The next best place to live on our list, number 7, Terre Haute, Indiana. The Wikipedia page didn't give me a whole lot of info, but what I got from it was that it's located near the western border of Illinois, and the population is about 60,700. To make up for it, I added a little bit more statistics from Neighborhood Scout. It's the 12th largest community in Indiana. Much of the housing in the city was actually built pre-World War II, so it's a big historical district. There's lots of young people in their 20s and 30s because there's lots of college students. It's home of the Indiana State University, so there's lots of opportunity for nightlife and, getting downtown and having fun. Their commute time is about 18.3 minutes long, which is relatively low for the country. Its per capita income is about $21,000. it's relatively low when we're talking about the other cities that are on this list. Healthcare and education are the biggest employers again. Violent crime out of 1,000, the city is a 2.4 and the state is a 3.7. I guess those college students don't like causing that much trouble, so that's good. Education's pretty close to the state average when we're talking about proficiency in math and reading, and a max high average of about 88 and a max low average of about 19 degrees. A nice house is going to cost about $130,000, and a turnkey here is going to be about $250,000. The last one for this video, guys, is going to be number 6, St. Joseph, Missouri. If you've been liking this video thus far and have lasted this long, go ahead and give me a like on this video and subscribe so that you're notified when my next video comes out, when we're going to go over the top 5 states to buy a cheap house in 2021. St. Joseph is about 30 miles north of Kansas City, Missouri. It's 125 miles south of Omaha. Fun fact, it is the birthplace of Eminem. It's the starting point of the Pony Express. Today they actually have a museum where you can visit the stables where the horses were used to carry mail on the Pony Express, which is super cool. It's located right on the Missouri River. It's the second city in the U.S. to install electric streetcars, which was quite surprising to me. It has an average high temperature of about 89 degrees and an average low temperature of about 18 degrees. Neighborhood Scout says that the per capita income for this city is about $25,300. Just over 20% of the adults have a college degree in St. Joseph compared to the national average of about 21%. St. Joseph has a great commute time of about 17 minutes. It has very little traffic, which Neighborhood Scout mentioned. Blue collar and white collar workers are very balanced here. The violent crime rate out of 1,000 for the city is about 5.76 and the state is about 4.95, so a little bit higher than the state average of Missouri. Reading and math proficiency in St. Joseph are pretty similar to the state average, but they're a little bit lower by 3%. A nice home in St. Joseph was probably going to cost you about $100,000 to $120,000. And a turnkey, probably right outside the city, is going to cost you about $200,000. It was a lot of work to research the different places and add all of this information into one template that I could read off for you guys, and then going and ranking it again off of the list that I already have. If you could support me by liking this video and subscribing to my channel, it would mean a lot to me. The next video is going to be coming out here real soon, which is going to be the top 5 cities. It's just going to be continuing the list, getting even better than these ones. If you want to check that out, just wait for us to edit and we'll be right on it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.